Okay.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining us today at Levittown Public Library. Today is Monday, February 14th, 2022. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. We are here with Kimberly Sabat with Egoscue. Go ahead, Kim.
Okay, welcome back everybody. We're going to be doing some posture stuff today to help your body realign itself. I don't realign you, your body does. So we're going to stimulate it. The tools that we're going to use today is a block or a pillow. Some of you don't have those cool yoga blocks or even one of these Egoscue blocks. So you take a pillow off of your bed, you fold it in half, maybe even in thirds, because you want to have a lot of resistance. You don't want a pillow that's just going to deflate on you and collapse when you apply pressure to it. Other thing we're going to use today is a belt. I'm using a yoga strap, so it is made out of cloth, but you might want to grab a belt off of your regular pants. Do not use one of those PT straps, because as you push out on it, it doesn't have a whole lot of resistance and it's just going to give. And we want to have an awful lot of resistance when we work with it. So a leather belt, just fine. I'm going to start you guys out on the floor and we're going to do some wall stuff. We're going to do some other stuff that I'll have to give you modifications for, because I know some of you have postural deficiencies that are they're going to show up in these moves, and it might be a little painful. So we're going to trap ourselves on the floor. We're going to go into static back first, and then I'm going to take you to the wall. If you don't have a big flat wall, we're going to use a door. If you don't have that, I'll have to give you more modifications. So we're going to spend 5 minutes laying on the floor in our static back. The other thing I forgot to tell you that you're probably going to need is a chair. So this is about 26, 24 inches in height. You want it to come up to about your hip when you get on your knees. What this is going to do is it's going to trap our body in a way that forces our muscles to hold the body in a different position. I hope the floor is not a scary place for you guys. If it is, you can be like some of my other students who got over that fear by witnessing what their body finally could do, how it remembered how to do things. And then the floor isn't a scary place anymore. But if the floor is scary for you and you cannot get onto the floor, maybe you want to sit in a nice square, hard-backed chair. You can walk your butt back into the corner of the chair and try to sit as upright as you can. It's not as relaxing as this is, but it will be close enough for those of you who cannot get on the floor. But we do want to get you to the point where you will be able to get on the floor. The floor should not be a scary place. And when we come into the static back position, what we want to do is trap the body in 90-degree angles as close as we can. So you want to keep your heels just as high as your knees. If you notice that maybe your ottoman that you have your legs up on is a little bit short, you might want to put some pillows on it so that you can get your heels the same height as your knees. Let's talk about shoulder position. Some of you who are new to this, if you notice that your head is kind of tilted backwards when you lay on the floor, it's usually due to your shoulder position, which is due to your pelvic position. So we're going to remedy that by putting a little pillow underneath your head so that your face will be a little more parallel to the ceiling. Because if we lay here for 5 minutes with your head pointed behind you like this, you can even hear it in my voice, tension starts to build in the neck. And we don't want that. Now that I brought you to that sentence, I want to remind everybody who's new, I don't live in your body, you do. So if something doesn't feel right, you've got to get out of the move that I'm giving you that makes it not feel right, wait for a modification, or just skip it altogether. Egoscue is not based on the therapist, which is me, knowing what the body is doing and how to fix it. It's not broken. Egoscue takes a very different perspective of we've got to listen to the wisdom of the body and let the body correct itself. That's how most of us get into these postural predicaments, is the body has adapted to different situations due to its own wisdom. And we get into big problems when we try to think that we know better than the body. We didn't design the body. Doctors didn't design the body. Nature, to some degree, designed your body. You are not nature. So we've got to trust the process by which the body starts to twist itself around and do what it has to do to avoid certain things. How do you know what's right for you? Well, your body tells you. Gosh, the people I've met over the years, right, who are just so divorced from their body. Hey, how does this feel? I don't know. I mean, knee jerk response. I don't know. Well, do you feel pain? Yeah, it hurts. Well, what kind of pain is it? Well, it's just pain. Oh my God. You want to smack your head up against the wall. But these people have been so divorced from their body and get themselves so involved in their head based on what other people tell them is right or wrong. And they just need to learn to inhabit their bodies again. And I might not be the therapist that has enough patience to get them there, but sometimes I can be. But we've got to listen to the body, everybody. If you're not sure, sometimes my words can help guide you when I explain to you that it's just sensation. So explain to me what the quality of sensation is in your body rather than just blanket statement of it hurts, it's pain. Because different qualities can give us different input, different feedback. Mm-hmm. I think I have no more to say. Thank goodness. Keep your blocks and your straps nearby. We're going to do some stuff on the wall. Before that, I think I'm going to do some stuff here in static back just to make sure that everybody's pelvis is as aligned as it can be left side to right side before I take you into some of the hip moves. And we're going to do some stuff laying face down. I'm going to take you into active wishbone, which can be painful for those of you with an anterior tilt in your pelvis. We'll talk about that. So the other thing you can do instead of wishbone, if you know that you have an anterior tilt and you know your lower back becomes painful when you do excessive anterior tilting, you can lay on your back and do knee drops, or you can just stay in this position. There's another alternative, everybody. So if I'm doing a move and you're like, ah, that hurts, this isn't right for me. If you like this move right now, go back to it. Go back to it. This is a good move. It's the most requested move in Egoscue. It's the static back. Okay, my friends, take your block or your pillow. You're going to put it in between your knees. We're going to do static back knee pillow squeezes. Block is right between your knees. I want to remind you, because it kind of happens to some of my clients, do not start grabbing the static back block or chair that you're on. Don't start grabbing it with your legs and lifting your butt up off of the floor. Everything is still relaxed, sinking into the ground. All we're doing is applying some fairly gentle pressure into the block. I'm not trying to kill it. We're going to sit here for, let's just do 2 minutes of this. Squeeze and release, squeeze and release. Usually we do 3 sets of 20, but nowadays when I'm teaching online and I've got no feedback from anybody in class, just do this for 2 minutes while I yap. I'm just squeezing my block or my pillow, whatever it is, in between my legs over and over and over again. My pelvis is still heavily sinking into the floor. My calves are still heavily sinking into the chair or the block, whatever it is. When I used to do a lot of traveling last year, I loved doing this class out of the hotel rooms because everyone had either a chair or an ottoman that was the perfect height. And if it wasn't, I would just take all the pillows that you have on the bed and just throw it up on top of stuff. Squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. Some of my clients, especially those who are runners or they bicycle, they've got this mindset of just faster, faster, go, go, more information, dot, 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 dot. So they tend to, instead of apply even, consistent, smooth pressure over and over in these moves, It's like a staccato, like machine gun. Da, 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 da. So if you're one of those people, yeah, I just totally emotionally bashed you, didn't I? You'll get over it. If you're noticing you're doing that, like tap, 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 slow it down, be consistent, be even, be smooth with any of these moves that are repetitive. What we're trying to do is to remind the body of a pattern and get both sides to work evenly. And that doesn't always happen when you're trying to go for as many as you can in the space of time that I give you. All right, everybody, take the block out. I'm going to take you into a prone position, which is laying down on the floor. Now, this is different for everybody's posture. If you've got a really flat back, which is the direction my back is now headed towards, this move is really good for me. For those of you who, it's not many of you, but those of you who have an anterior pelvic tilt, meaning your pelvis does this, like you have an excessive low back curve when you're standing and you're normal, this move might cause you some pain. And I'm getting some of your names in my head right now, but I'm not going to shout them out. So if that is you, you can lay down on the floor on your back and you can do knee drops. So, you know, when you do this, even if you do adduction, abduction, you can do that on the floor instead. Everybody else, we're going to do active wishbone. So I'm laying on the floor face down. I want you to look at the position that I keep my knees in, everybody. I'm going to bend my knees. Take my socks off so you can see, because I think I have dark, yes, I have dark socks on today, so that makes it hard to see. So I bend my knees, my ankles are dorsiflexed, but when I come into the movement, my knees are still pretty close to touching. So I'm not doing hip distance with my knees. I want your knees to stay touching as best you can. As you go through this movement, your knees are going to start walking away from each other. So every few, I want you to bring your knees back together again. What we're working on here is internal rotation of both of your femurs. So I'm laying down on the floor, face down. I'm going to rest my head on my hands, bend my knees deeply. I don't mind if you guys come to 90 degrees in your knees, but I don't want your legs to start falling towards the floor while you're doing this, and we're going to lose it. So we want to keep the knees flexed. You can see why this move is called active wishbone, because your legs look like a wishbone. So this is the side view. You're not going to see the wishbone. I just showed you the wishbone visual a few seconds ago. Keep your ankles dorsiflexed. That means I'm pulling my toes towards my knees. Again, these postural exercises are not a one-size-fits-all solution. They can be for certain postures, which is why, what did I say earlier? Yes, Kim, you told us earlier that we should listen to our bodies. I didn't even have any coffee today. I'm on a roll. So if something doesn't feel right to you, like, hey, this kind of hurts, stop the motion. You can do the knee drops like I just showed you, or you could go back to static back. One more minute. Open, close, open, close. Can everybody see or feel, because you can't see a darn thing, can you? You should be looking at your knuckles. Can everybody feel how when they drop their feet apart, they feel something going on in their lower back? Isn't this position that I'm taking both of your femurs in similar to a standing at wall pigeon-toed position? And what do I explain to you guys happens to your pelvis when you internally rotate both of your femurs? You said that pelvis tips forward. Yes, it comes into an anterior tilt. Does everybody feel that? You should be feeling some kind of work right here in your lower back. That is the origin point of one of your hip flexors, your biggest hip flexor on both sides. It connects from your lower back to your inner thigh. So when we take the leg into this direction, it starts to kick on in certain ways, stretching in some ways, working in others, because it's got a few connection points. Fantastic, everybody. Done with that. Oh, whew, almost feels tight in the lower back after that work, right? You feel that? That's change. and it's sensation. I'm going to take you guys to the wall now. We're going to do adduction, abduction against the wall. So we're going to trap the body in the similar position we started out in, the static back position, but no block. We're not going to use the block to do it. I want you to bring your block with you, your pillow, the knee pillow. And I also want you to bring your strap with you too, because we're going to do other work against the wall. So just keep it nearby because we're going to start putting it in there. Adduction, abduction. Best done in this position for what we're trying to accomplish today. But if you don't have a wall, you can do this with your feet on the floor. So I want to keep the feet hip distance. And I also want to keep my body at 90 degrees, as close to 90 degrees as I can. Close to 90 as I can. So that's where I'm at, 90 degrees. My feet are on a wall or on a door. And we're going to do adduction, abduction, meaning we're going to drop the knees apart and bring them in together. Apart and together. Now, what your feet are going to want to do here is evert. They're going to start sliding and everting. Don't let that happen. Parallel. You should be able to see your feet. Look at them. Keep them parallel. Now, here's another thing. As I drop my knees open, does everybody see how I'm cheating? My body goes right into cheat mode. My heels are way higher than my knees. Bring them down so that they're the same height as your knees. That's going to force your hips to work in a different way. In and out, same height as your knees. The only way you're going to be able to tell that is if somebody else is in the room with you, or if you actually look and see, wow, my feet were too high. There's a tendency for your feet to go high here because your body knows. It says, I want to reduce wasteful energy. So I will do this in the way that I want to do this. I'm going to stick your feet up higher so it's not so hard. Your body avoids work, rightfully so. It's trying to conserve. It's conserving based on the patterns you've given it over the years. So now it's maybe memorized, hey, we've got 12 people able to row on this boat, but the other people, they're sleeping. So we're only going to use 6. And then after a while, yeah, we only have 6 people that row on this boat. The other people just kind of eat our food and hang out there. Well, we're here to stimulate the other people. And then the boat goes faster. So it's kind of this little trade-off. Do we try to conserve the energy in these patterns that have avoided our body's ability to recruit all muscles that it's designed to use? Do we let it keep doing that? Or do we remind it how to use those muscles? And therefore, it actually does use less energy. At first, it is more energy. It feels like it. It certainly feels like it as we're waking up those muscles. But you'll notice when you get up and you walk around, you start to feel different after a Egoscue. That's why you guys are here. Okay, friends, that's abduction, adduction. I'm going to take you into one more move, and then we're going to add the blocks and the straps. The move is called assisted hip lift. We usually do the harder version on the floor. This is the easier version. You're going to keep your feet in place, hip distance. I want you to pay attention to how your pelvis is on the floor. It should feel pretty flat, pretty stable. One hip isn't lifted up towards your ribs is what I'm saying. So you could feel it's pretty even across. When you cross your ankle to your knee, you don't want your pelvis to start twisting and your body to start looking like a pretzel. So try to do the best you can, ankle to knee, but keep your pelvis in the same place. Here comes the work. I'm going left ankle to right knee. I'm going to draw my left knee towards the wall. No hands though. 1 minute. Feel the work? Good. So again, you don't want to twist away from this work. Your pelvis should be in the same spot as it was when both of your feet were on the wall. For many of us who are new to this, or crap, I haven't done this in weeks, so it's almost as if I'm new to it again. Your hip starts to shut down in certain ways, and then it starts to feel tight. So when the hip stops doing its movement, it's going to throw all that work up into your back. And so your back will start doing the movement that the hip is supposed to do. But then we end up in problems, don't we? Your back now overworks as it compensates for a stubborn hip. So try to keep this in your hip, not in your back. Don't twist your back. I'm going to go to the other side. Again, I'm setting up nice and clean. My heels are the same height as my knees. I'm at 90 degrees. I'm going to cross my right ankle to my left knee. Trying to keep my pelvis in place, not letting my hips sit off to the side, but you might be noticing that. Pay attention. Draw your knee to the wall. This is assisted hip lift because we have the wall to place our foot on. When we do this move on the ground, the real hip lift, there is no wall. Your left knee pulls in towards your chest and your right knee draws away from you. No wall to help. This is also the beginning phase of doing hip crossover stretch. People who can't really twist just yet or are afraid to twist and their body hasn't shown them that they can twist. Notice how I choose my words wisely. I might stick them in a move like this or move like this with their foot on the floor instead of the wall. We'll just move forward in steps. Okay, good, done. Now we're going to take it deeper. So instead of being at that 90-degree angle away from the wall, we're going to get into, they call it flexion abdominal position, but we're going to get into a super hip flexed position. Your butt's not going to touch the wall. You want it to be maybe 6 inches away from the wall. But when we trap on the wall, I want your knees to be way closer to your body than just over your hips. So they're going to be maybe right over your belly button is where they're going to be. I'm still trapping on the wall, everybody. The way I like to do this is stick my block against the wall, the narrow side. Then I wiggle my butt towards the wall until it hits the block. Now the block is 6 inches wide, so that already measures the distance for me. I check my heels. They're the same height as my knees, and my hips are in deep hip flexion right now. Now I remove my block, and I'm going to put the block right between my knees. I'm not going to squeeze it hard. I'm just making sure it doesn't drop. That's all. So this block is just creating, say, an environment where both hips can be active. That's all. We're going to hang out here for a couple of minutes. We are now in very deep hip flexion, very deep knee flexion. Can you get this done sitting in a chair? Yeah, you'd have to pile up a whole lot of stuff in front of you. Maybe put another chair in front of you. Maybe put a stack of books in front of you. Maybe put an ottoman in front of you. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm still in the sitting position. I'm just against the wall. Again, I'm not squeezing on the block. I'm just touching it, holding it in place. Just staying in this deeply flexed position is going to cause muscles to turn on, and I'm sure you feel that. Think about how we never get into this position. We go to pick something up. We're usually bending over from our back, or we're asking some of our grandkids or children to pick it up for us. Oh, how far we have fallen. When you look at what kids can do, and even what some other cultures still do, they're squatting, they're picking things up. When we stop doing that, the use it or lose it principle applies. You lose it. You totally lose it. Even me, and I am not the best at any of these things. Can I get into a squat position like this with my feet parallel and not fall backwards? No way. I have to compensate to some degree, which most of us do, like in the malasana pose, where your feet are turned out or your legs come wider than your hips. But there are some young boys usually, and well, young, my goodness, I'm thinking like 25, 35 years old. My goodness. Anyway, these younger boys who are very athletic, they can still do these squats because they still practice it. Fantastic, everybody. Are you ready? We're going to now apply repetitive pressure. squeeze, release with the block. Keep her going, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. So if this whole time while we were sitting there for the 2 minutes, those muscles did not turn on evenly, we're gonna nip them in the bud and they're gonna turn on now. I'm seeing everybody in their pictures and their videos right now. You're looking fabulous. You're looking fabulous. That deep hip flexion is something, isn't it? It is work. We're gonna add on some shoulder stuff to this too, definitely. So even though that earlier move I gave you, the wishbone, the active wishbone, can bother a lot of the people with anterior tilt, this move is usually just the savior of anterior tilt people, because the pelvis can't get into that position. Therefore, it cannot compensate that way. And then we have to retrain the muscles of the legs and the hips how to behave so that when they get up, we're looking at a very different posture. So what we do here is we teach the muscles how to behave. I'm just the punisher. I am the punisher. Okay, moving on. Before we get the strap, we're going to do hamstring glides. So you're going to keep the block in between your knees. We're going to extend the knees and the hips so that the legs go up the wall. Keep your ankles in dorsiflexion. Once you get up there, slide up and then come back down. Good luck. Up and back down. If you cannot get a wall and you're not using a wall, some of you don't, you can certainly do this on the floor in the hook lying position. And you could turn these into pullbacks. So listen to my words. You're laying down on the floor, you got the block in between the knees. You pull your knees towards your chest and extend your legs up towards the ceiling. And then put them right back down on the floor. So if you don't have a wall that you can do this with, you could do what's called pullbacks. You start with your feet on the floor, then they come off the floor as you pull your knees towards your chest. You just put your feet up towards the ceiling. Similar. Still gets the job done. So what we're going for here is now to retrain the hips and the knees and the ankles and feet to go through this pattern. And I'm sure you feel how helpful this is going to be. Wow, this is painful. This is work. Yeah, because the muscles forgot how to do this work, how to work evenly. We don't hop around like kangaroos. So when we walk, we don't hop like bilateral, we're unilateral, one leg at a time. So once we get both legs working together as a team, then we're going to split them. Okay. We're going to switch out the block for our strap. We're still in that deeply flexed position. I think I put the block in the way. There you go. We're still in the deeply flexed position, which is our hip flexor abdominals position. When you put the strap around your legs, you want to tighten it up so that your legs are still in line with your hips, just like we started out with when I was on this wall, just like we were in when we were in the static back position. You want to have about a fist distance between both of your knees. Turn to the side for this one, because why not? And that strap is around my legs so that when I push my knees out, they really don't go anywhere. There's so much pressure and resistance on the strap, it stops them from moving. But you'll feel there's still work. Push out and release. Push out and release. Now, this is an odd one because we are so flexed in the hips. Usually when we push out on the strap, we want to recruit the butt muscles to some degree. But we're in such a flexed position here, you might not even be able to feel them. If you put your hands on your butt, you might actually feel the muscles contracting. But that doesn't mean you feel in your body that, yes, my butt is doing this work. Instead, what you might be feeling is deep in the groin, the iliopsoas, our main hip flexor, trying to pull the legs apart. Again, if you've got pain doing this, you don't have to do it. If it felt better laying in static back, go ahead, get yourself into static back position. You can try this movement with the strap in the static back position. You can try this movement sitting in a chair. We do it all the time. Sitting abductor presses. This is just a different position I'm taking you guys into. We're doing a lot of hip flexor work today. Geez, Kim, can we come out of hip flexion? No, not yet. If it's too intense being in this much hip flexion for you and you want to lay down on the floor in the frog position or Supta Baddha Konasana, please feel free to do so. A lot of you have been with me for years and you know the moves, you know your body. So if you feel like, gosh, I just got to get out of this, I need some relief, then do it, do it. Listen to your body. Okay, friends, we're going to give it a shot now. We're going to do the extension and flexion again, our hamstring work, but we're keeping some pressure on that strap while we take it up and down. Some people have nice paint on the walls. This paint is just, it's so flat, it's catching my heels all the way up. Do what you can. Oh, that feels great. We're going to do something like splits and femur rotations on the wall, and then I'll take you off the wall. Up and down. Keeping my ankles dorsiflexed. For those of you that don't have a wall, if we are doing this move, just like I said before, you could do them in pullbacks. You put the feet on the floor, you pull the knees back, you extend the legs up into the sky without your wall. You don't need to have the wall. The wall is just a guide for those of you that have it to get both of the legs to work as evenly as possible. We're trapping the body. Now, I'm going to take you into wall splits. Take your strap off of your legs. Walk your butt to the wall if you can, all the way to the wall now. If you walk your butt to the wall and you notice your knees keep bending or your pelvis is lifting off of the floor, that means your pelvis is still out of alignment as per the quote unquote perfect alignment. So I want you to back up away from the wall until your tailbone hits the floor. This move must be done with your tailbone on the floor. Must be done. Must be done. Tailbone on the floor. Okay. So now that our tailbone is against the wall and on the floor, if we can get it, we're going to split the legs open as wide as we can go. Same time, I'm keeping my knees straight. I'm keeping my ankles dorsiflexed. So I'm just dropping them open. I'm going to hang out here for a minute. I'm a bit of a cheater because I do have a heater right here. So I actually can't show you on this wall how to get my butt up against the wall. But you know what? I'm going to take it to the side so I can. But before I do, make sure your feet stay parallel and your ankles are dorsiflexed. Knees are straight. Hang out. This is called the wall split. It is a working move. I'm not just hanging out in the tension of this stretch. My ankles are dorsiflexed. My knees are straight. So I'm tightening my thighs and keeping the legs as straight as they'll go. That is going to force all of the work and effort into the hip region that we want to wake up. Fantastic. Stay in this position. Start rotating so that both of your feet point in towards each other and then they point out. but I'm doing this from my hips. So these are the last widest position in our femur rotations when we do them. The last position, the widest position. Out, in, out, in. Just get it done. I know it's tough. I know. It's like I can't do anything. I'll do it. Do something. Something's better than nothing at all. All the way in, all the way out. Hello, hips, wake up. And if you'll notice, this position is the same thing as if I was sitting on the floor with my legs out in front of me. Same thing. So if you don't have a wall to stick your legs up, you can definitely do this on the floor. Put your back up against a chair or a bookcase, or you could do it laying down on the floor. Oh, come on out, everybody. I'm going to take you to a hands and knees pose. This one's called static extension position. Still in a flex position, but we're getting there. We'll get up soon. Static extension. We're going to hold this one for 2 minutes. Some of you don't like this move. If you don't, and it's painful, take frog. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But first, I'm getting my static extenders in. Hands and knees. Knees under your hips. Look between your legs. Make sure you can't see your ankles. I'm going to walk my hands forward. So I put my hand where my fingertips are. Hand where my fingertips are. It's just 6 inches. So I move the palm forward 6 inches. Now I put my shoulders back in line with my wrists. Drop my shoulder blades together, let my head hang, think like a sway back horse. I want your belly to fall towards the floor. This is the sway back horse move. Elbows stay straight, have to stay straight. We are loading now the shoulders. We're loading your shoulders. So if that's too hard and your elbows keep bending, separate your hands wider. But I want you to try to keep your hands right under your shoulders with your elbows straight. Some of you can't do this. You're going to do a frog position. So this move that hurts you. Feet together, lay on your back. That's the alternative. In fact, if you like doing frog pullovers, you can do that. Get some shoulder work in there. You can do reverse presses in the frog position, in the static back position. You can do goal posts. So because the static extension move involves the hips, pelvis, back, and shoulders, and loads the shoulders, any alternative move kind of should involve the shoulders as well. Less than a minute. There's a tendency to hug your shoulders up towards your ears. So this is not a shoulder shrug move. I want you to keep your shoulders back and down. You don't want them coming up towards your ears. That's not the same as your shoulders retracting. So just because you elevate your shoulders doesn't mean that you're retracting them. It's just like I said, the body is going to avoid doing new work. Great. Come on out, everybody. Okay, stand up if it's still possible. Is it possible? We're going to do step ups. We haven't done step ups in the longest time. So you're going to grab yourself a chair. Even if you can't do step ups using a chair, you can pretend to do step ups, even without anything. Just pretend there's a chair there and step on the floor in your regular room. But of course, adding some type of heightened object is going to give you more of a workout, most certainly. So we're going to use our chair either in the kitchen, something like that. Don't use something squishy. Notice I turned this onto its very flat side, so that's a little more stable. We're going to work into side step ups, regular forward step ups, and then, of course, the other side. When we do step ups, we like to keep the upper body in extension. So I interlace my hands and put them behind my head, and then I draw my elbows back. So what happens to the shoulder blades, you'll feel on your back, they do this. They retract and they come together. Some of you might not be able to move your shoulders in that way, or you end up pushing your head forward. If that's happening to you, just put your hands on your shoulders, still draw your shoulders back and down. So side step ups, I'm going to take you guys into 10 of them. Again, if you don't have anything to step up on, just pretend. You can pretend, okay, I'm stepping up on something and I'm stepping back, but This is what it really looks like. You step up on something, you come up, and you come back down. I'm going to do 10 of them. I don't care if you're faking it or you're making it. Keep the elbows back and down. Or if this is too much for you, just watch me do it. I'll do it for you. Even if you decide, wow, I can't do this with my arms, or I just want to do something. Okay, so you just place your foot up on it and take it down. I'm giving you guys different options to just not give up. Don't get scared because, wow, that stupid idiot on the video is doing more than I think I can. I'm a stupid idiot. Just get something done. Other side. 10, 9, 8, 7. You don't have to lift the leg up. I'm just doing that because I can. Use it or lose it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're not done. We've got forward step ups too, and we've got 2 legs. So we're talking a full 20. I'm going to do 10 on one leg, 10 on the other leg. Elbows back. 10. I don't care if you switch and do the same leg over and over again. It doesn't matter. Three, 2, 1. I'm doing my other leg. If you're slower than me, who cares? Do something. 9. Elbows back, hold them back. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you get to have a seat on your chair. No blocks or anything, but I am going back into the hips. We're going to do flutter kicks. Usually I do this on the floor. We're doing them in the chair today. You're going to place your hands behind you if you need to. Not everybody does. You want this work to get into your hips. So when your knees bend, it's like a broken seesaw. That work is not going to go into your hip. So do your best to keep your knees straight. If it's too hard and you can't pick both of your legs up and hold them, do one at a time. Pick up one leg, pick up the other leg. Keep it as straight as you can. I'm going for full-on flutter kicks. I'm hanging onto my chair, straightening my legs, dorsiflexed ankles, thighs tight. Bop, 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 bop. Every 10, I actually change the position of my ankles. So I go from plantar flexion to dorsiflexion. Like I said, you might have to hang on or not. So it depends on how strong your hip flexors are and your abdominals to hold you in this position. Should feel good. And stop. Take a break because Kim has to open the window. She's steaming it up in here. Okay. What we're going to do next is do knees in and out. You guys who've been with me in the library in the actual in-person classes, remember this sequence. We're doing knees in and out, in and out, in and out. Remember what we did on the wall where we had the block in between our knees and the strap, and we put the legs up and down? Think about that alignment. Try to keep that alignment while you do this. I was prepping you for this. So when your knees come in and out, they shouldn't look like this. Okay, keep them in line, ankles dorsiflexed. Here we go. Knees in and out. You have 1,000,000. 1,000,001. In and out. Quality. Think about knees and ankles in line with your hips. Keep them there. Again, if this is tough for you to do, all we were doing was prepping for this, so you can certainly go back to our prep move, and you can do that on the floor. You can do that up the wall. I am going to hit it a little bit harder. We're going to do legs open, close. Do you remember our split that we did on the wall where we kept our feet parallel? Think about that while you do this move. You don't want both femurs to externally rotate when you do it. That's avoiding work. You want to keep the femurs in place, feet stay parallel, then open. Big difference. So we're going to do open, close just for a few. You'll survive. I'm sure everybody feels that. It feels so good. I don't want to stop. Do you? Okay. We're going to do some standing work next. Remember standing gluteal contractions? Anybody remember those? Let's do them. So now we're going to put the body underneath vertical load, but we're going to do standing gluteal contractions with a little bit added to it. We're going to do it in the tandem position with our legs. If you feel a little wobbly, hang on to something. I want you to put your right foot in front of your left and touch your heel to toe. So you're like you're on a balance beam. Now distribute your weight evenly between your front and your back foot. That's something that you have to feel. You have to feel that. So don't divorce yourself from your body on this one. Now, squeeze both of your butt cheeks and then let them go. This is where the work is getting done. Repetitive motion. On, off, on, off, on, off. It may take some time, just a few repetitions or 60 or so repetitions before both of your butt cheeks start to work uniformly. So you might notice only one butt cheek is squeezing and the other one not so much. It will clean itself up. Have to have confidence. The other good thing is we gave our pores a workout. How many of us avoid sweating? This is stuff, use it or lose it. We have to sweat. Switch. Especially in the wintertime, many of us are not sweating. We're drinking our hot chocolates, we're avoiding doing work, and that's completely natural. Completely natural. It's also natural to get in a sauna and then go roll around in the snow, right? But this is the use it or lose it principle. Do not avoid heating up your body from within, stoking your inner fire so that the body is reminded, hey, it's okay to do this. It's all right. We have sweat for this. Sweat cleans us out. We know that. Again, we're just squeezing the butt over and over. Squeeze, release. I think this is one of the starting moves that I do in one of my old videos where I'm in the motocross gear. I got my motorcycle next to me. I do this motorcycle routine. Switch. Got really inspired one day. I brought my motorcycle to Slate Lane Pool, rolled it right up there and started filming because I wanted to help some of the other motocross and enduro people who ride motorcycles. It's very, very quad dominant. Knee injuries, ankle injuries, hip injuries, all sorts of stuff. Just waking up the hip. Just like we were doing our knee pillow squeezes, on, off, on, off, on, off. That's it. So this is the second time we're coming back to this position. Do you notice a change? That's how you could tell if Kim's stupid classes are working and doing anything. If you don't notice a change, I'm not for you. Switch again. I'm reminded of something I pulled out of a fortune cookie. We find peace in people that understand us, growth in those who do not. How true is that? It's so easy to just relax. When people understand you, yeah, he gets it, he gets it. When somebody doesn't understand you, then all of a sudden you go, oh, you might start getting irate. You might start finding new ways to explain things to people. So many different things we can experience, isn't it? We are going to go through this one more time. It's usually 3 sets of 20 when we do things like this. Go back, beginning position again. One more time each position. Oh, gosh, does that feel good? Both butt cheeks firing. Pretty strong. And switch. Before we do our final move, it's usually a bilateral one. I want to thank everybody for being with me today. Some of the new faces that I saw, and people who I thought were new faces that weren't. Sorry about that. I want to thank you for showing up. Since this is recorded, you can leave a comment, and I'll try my best to go through those and get to them. If you have any questions, you can leave that there. If you search my name, you'll find some other videos, a lot of free stuff. You search Egoscue, you'll find an awful lot of free stuff. Okay, last move is going to be squat. So we're going to hold squat for 1 minute. This is our free squat because we're not using any door handles to get into this position. But I want you to remember, I want you to think of an S curve in the spine. Think of taking your pelvis into an anterior tilt when we do this. Not exaggerating a low back, but just using the hip flexor to pull. I don't want your squat to look like this. I want you to try to maintain some kind of S curve. So we're going to keep the feet pointed straight ahead. We're just going to hold this one for a minute. Feet point straight ahead, hip distance as usual. Arms out in front of you and squeeze your shoulders back, just like the static extension position we did. Now sit in that chair that really isn't there. Take a look down at your knees, make sure that they didn't come out or dive in. If that happens, maybe you want to put a pillow between your knees. That'll force them to work evenly. So these final moves that I give you are usually designed to get your body ready for the day. So they're usually a load-bearing move. And often it's a move that's going to make sure that you're working evenly from left side to right side. So it's often a bilateral move rather than a unilateral move. Often. Again, this is different than what you catch in chair pose. Utkatasana in yoga, you'll do a bandha, which is an energy lock, and there's a tendency to tuck under when you do that. This is a different style. Come on out. We're done. We're done, guys. Oh, I see some applause. Are you kidding me? I'm not that great. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Thank you guys for being with me. I'll see you next week. Questions, comments, leave them. Maybe I'll answer.